Before I begin my presentation today, I want to ask some questions, since a lot of you showed up today. MCPs, we believe, are for everyone, but to gauge the audience here, how many of you are hardcore developers who develop every day? Just by raise of hands. Okay, about a third. Okay, so how many of you are using MCPs today? Almost all of those people are doing that, so that's awesome. How many of you are more tech adjacent, which is you're very interested in MCPs, you maybe don't develop every day, but you're very interested in learning about MCPs? By a raise of hands. That is the most of the audience. Good. I predicted correctly. So, so this presentation does include about technology, but it's also meant as an introduction to the power of MCPs. So MCP is perhaps the worst name for something besides GPT, because no one can remember what GPT stands for, and probably no one will remember what MCP stands for. But MCP is how you're going to turn your LLMs into doing something for you. If you think of LLMs as the brains, MCPs are the brawn. You connect these things together. I also want to point out, I have a couple of my co-founder with me, as well as a principal engineer. Lana, could you raise your hand? Right there, there's Lana. So Lana has been working with AI for over 8 years now. She's worked a lot on the business side. So if you have a lot of business type questions, how these things work in the enterprise, Lana is a great person to talk to. We also have Jamin West, who's here. Jamin, can you stand up? Great. So Jamin and I work together to build out the platform. That is something also today you don't see so much, or you wouldn't have seen 5 years ago. But now startups can start with just a couple people, and they can do amazing things. So this platform was built by just a few of us. Okay, so here's the problem we face, and this is the why of doing things. So most of our day is spent in the enterprise doing a lot of grunt work, a lot of things we don't want to do. How many of us have to go to Slack, have to go to Jira, have to go to email, have to go to GitHub, and looking and gathering data? No matter how good LLMs are, the problem is that we have to then go to the LLMs, put data in, or extract it out. So that's really the challenge. If you could get rid of all this grunt work and use what we're great at, humans are great at, it really changes the potential. And if you can leverage AI, and not just be an engineer to leverage AI, but anybody can leverage AI, it makes it very powerful. And that's really what we're focused on. We're focused on making it enabling for anybody. So again, think of LLMs as the brains. The brawn, let me talk about what I mean by that. So there's a lot of powerful tools. In fact, 95% of those powerful tools out there exist, but they don't have AI behind them. So we can think about a database. Super fast, super powerful, not really brainy. We can think about tools like Jira, which are great, but they don't really have a great AI baked in, not yet. But there's a ton of these tools, Slack, but Slack plus AI, that becomes very powerful. The trick is, how do you unlock that? How do you make it available? That's what we're going to talk about. So when you think about MCPs, it's about combining these things that we know and add intelligence to them. And when you do that, you have things like, imagine having a project system on autopilot that but was there every morning, looked at all of your tasks that you have to do, had to figure out what was open, what the risks are, came to you, and when you woke up, here was your risk plan, everything that you have to deal with that morning. And then it came up with solutions, and you, as the human, decide what you're gonna do. Market intelligence. How many of you are starting at small companies or even medium-sized companies where you're worried about the competition? Yeah. Well, I am. I mean, I'm part of a startup, so I worry about the competition all the time, especially in the AI space. So, we're busy building the company, but we really need this information. Wouldn't it be great if you had an agent that worked on your behalf, looked out there, knew about your company, knew about your competitors' work, and figured out how to give you the information you need and how to react? That's what an agent can do for you. Patient coordinator. Anybody work in healthcare? A few people. Okay. So just the act of getting all your patients lined up, coordinating with a doctor, all that stuff, what a pain. Wouldn't it be great if you had an agent working on your behalf? That's the kind of thing, the why, what you get with something like MCPs. They connect these old school systems to intelligence. Okay, so this is the way we see the evolution of work. Before, no AI, just a few years ago, it was all manual, right? And then AI came along and it went to 100 million users in just 1 month. That's how popular it is. There's about 1 billion people using ChatGPT every day. Think about how huge that is. So the great news is that now AI is accessible to everyone. The bad news is you're still stuck mostly in analysis mode, and you need to move to operation mode. You need to move to action. And that's what MCPs give you. They give you action to the thinking. Okay, so hypothetically, you have Sarah, who is a VP of product, and before, she had to do all this monthly checking in. I mean, maybe you've experienced this, you're doing this all the time. Now, with the new system, she can spend her time with people. I mean, think about the one thing AI doesn't do well. It doesn't do people well. So now she can spend time with people, with customers. She can work on tricky problems. That's what these give you. So that is the why behind it. So imagine you have a crisis. Anybody have crisis at work? We all did, right? You're allowed, right? Okay, exactly. We all have crises at work. How do you deal with it? Imagine you had agents working on your behalf to help you solve this, to gather data, to gather information. It would transform how you do work. Now here's the thing. The agents aren't there to replace you. They're there to help you be better at your job. There's still work, particularly judgment work, that you need to do to figure out how to apply plans. I look at this example. Sometimes my agents come back and give me 3 great things to do, but I can only do one of them. And that's the choice of humans. As humans, we have to choose the thing that we need to do going forward. If you're using agentic development, you oftentimes will get suggestions. Anybody use Claude Code here? Just by a show of hands, a few of you, okay. Or you use Cursor or Windsurf or any of those. Okay, great, more and more. Okay, if you do that, you're on the forefront of this. You know what this is like. The agents are doing a lot of work for you, but you still have to have the judgment. Also, agents can screw up. So you have to have the judgment to know when they're screwing up. So it's a great enabler. I would never go back to non-agentic development, but I'm still involved. I still have to make decisions. I still have to make choices. I still have to make trade-offs. So that's what they do for you. Okay, so you don't have to have just one agent working for you. You can have multiple agents working for you. The thing is, it depends on how complicated your job is. It depends what you have to do. If you need to do task switching, you may want an agent that's specifically designed. Imagine you could build an agent. If you're in charge, like Josh is, you have to do an event. Imagine having an agent work on your behalf to do all the event planning for you, to figure out who you should be speaking, who you're coordinating with. All of that could happen as an agent working for Josh to get it done, but he will make the choices about what the agent says. Okay. I'm going very fast. Does anybody have any questions with this mod? Okay. So again, if you think about our job, it was about gathering data. How many of you in your job have to spend a fair amount of time gathering data? By a show of hands. Like almost all of you. Okay. How many of you, by show of hands, love gathering data? One person. Okay, good. Okay, I don't like gathering data. It's tedious, it's boring, it's almost never complete, right? The thing that these agents will do that that you would have trouble with is they have to be complete. Like, so for example, when we're doing competitive analysis, it's hard for me to track, especially in AI, all the different players. It's just overwhelming, and a lot of you are probably working in startups. So, but you're responsible, and your investors or your customers are going to ask you about the other companies. So how do you keep abreast of it? How do you make sure that you're staying on top of it? Well, agents can work on your behalf to do that. Okay, now it gets down to brass tacks. Okay, how do you do this? So today, for the most part, if you want to do agentic development, you have to, and build agent-based, AI-based applications, you have to hire a team. And that's just the reality of it. Why? Because there's so many things to know and the field is moving so fast. But what if you just want to build a few agents for your organization? You want to build an agent for yourself. How do you do that and make it productive and play with it and try it out? That's where Cogzia comes in. Okay, so I started my career at Apple, and at Apple our mission was really about making technology available to everyone. Their mission has kind of changed over time, but in the early days, the whole idea was that everybody should be able to use a computer. Then the idea was that everybody should be able to use a smartphone and make it useful for them. But over time, they become a big company, but I think we're now back to a time where it's new again, and AI is the most exciting thing. It's no longer iPhones. So how do you make this work? Well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to make it as easy to make an agent as it is to use ChatGPT. Okay, so building with Cogzia is just by describing what you want to build. And after this, I'm going to show you a video demo of me building something today. So it's about combining a couple of technologies together. First of all, it has to get those different servers. Remember, servers are the broad, so those are the things you want to connect to. Let me give you a simple example of why you need an agent, where you need something underneath the hood. Have you ever used like ChatGPT or any of the others and find it thinking it's 2023 or 2024 by a show of hands? You're like, yeah, you're like, what? I think you're supposed to be smart. Well, that's because the models stop training, and that's like they're stuck on Groundhog Day. That's the thing, that's the time they think it is. So imagine you had a little agent that just made sure it knew what time it was. And so it had the right date, and it had that information. That's the kind of thing that you can do with a little MCP server. It will just always have the right information. How about search? Do you guys remember the days before these ChatGPT had search? Yeah. It was pretty dumb, right? You had to go find the things and copy it into ChatGPT or find the PDFs. Now they've added search. Thank you very much. But if you're building an agent, you would like search too, right? You'd like to search the web. You'd like to scrape the data. So with ours, you can do just that. In fact, what you think about is MCP, see what a terrible acronym. Okay, so MCP servers are there to give more functionality. And not only will you be able to use the ones we provide, especially for your developers out there, you can develop your own MCP servers and drop them in. So the idea is you can extend, or you need privacy or security, don't want to expose what's going on, you put your own MCP server you can use with our platform. Okay, so we are big fans of developers as well, but I really want to talk to the non-developers. Again, our whole function is to make it easy for you to create agents. Just how you felt with ChatGPT, where you could suddenly use AI. Believe it or not, most people never used AI before ChatGPT, or at least they didn't think they did. But once they got exposed to ChatGPT, they liked how powerful that was. So this is a lot for them, but also for developers. We believe that you should have access to all the data we use. So when we do it, we create a manifest for techie folks. That's just how you would build the system yourself. You can run it entirely on your own infrastructure if you wish to. You can dissect the code. So the whole idea is that this is built for you. We ourselves, we're dog fooding it. You haven't heard that term? It means we eat our own dog food, we use our own stuff. We really believe that this system should be available for any of you to use and use the way you want. Okay, I'm gonna skip that. Okay, or after, good. Okay, did anybody miss the QR code at the beginning? Okay, if anybody's interested and you're interested in joining the waitlist for the application, just click there and sign up. We'll notify you as soon as it's available. Okay, then I'm just gonna do a quick video demo, just a couple of minutes, we'll be done. Also, if you missed this, just find us afterwards, we'll show you how to do that. Okay, let me go ahead, put my glasses, but out them. Okay. The first to see it in the world. It's not very exciting unless you use Cloud Code, because Cloud Code is how we use Terminal app, but you'll get the gist of it. So to use it, you just use a terminal. And if you don't like using terminals because you're a regular person, we'll have a full web SaaS interface for this. Okay. Okay, so but very similar to the web, you'll have an interface that will ask you what you want to build. You can type in anything, any kind of app you want to build from this. So, why is this slow?
Are you able to bring the screen zoom up a little?
Unfortunately, that will sort of obscure it. I don't know what. Okay, great. Oh, okay. So remember before I said you couldn't, it didn't know what time it was, it didn't know how to search things. It's kind of bad if you have an agent that doesn't know how to do these things. So I'm asking it to build me an agent that has this capability. And all I do is say, build me an agent that does this. And you can ask all kinds of things to it, like you might want to connect to Jira, you might want to do other things, but to keep it simple, I'm doing that. So I'll ask it to build this, it's going to think about it, I'm going to fast forward. It figures out which MCP servers to use. So we've created a curated list. There's a lot of issues around security and stability of MCP servers. So there's about 10,000 out there. We're going to curate it down to about a couple hundred. So these are ones that you can stand by, things like Jira, things like that, if you want to use, or GitHub. So it's going to tell you, let me just pause here for the techie people. It's going to create a really good prompt designed to be used for the use inside of MCP clients and hosts. So this is an important thing. You don't have to figure this out. It's really designed to do that. If you don't like that prompt, you can of course replace it with your own. You can iterate if you don't like what it says, but it's designed here to make it super easy. And then you would ask it to, like, what's the name of the app you want to build? It will then build it for you. It does all that work for you. And then you can use it. Like, this is how easy it is. It's just in a couple minutes, you're going to build an agent, you're going to ask it to do something. I don't know if you can see the bottom there, but I'm asking it, hey, what's the current date and time in Seattle? To tell you I just did this a couple hours ago. It's going to go ahead and process that. It's going to get the results. And it's going to give it to you. Okay, and then it gives you, because I had search, also asked it to add search to this, it's going to tell you what else you could do, the other places you could go and get the content from. So it's current. So that's all there is to it. It's that simple to build your own apps. You can then use them internally, or you could use them externally. Any questions? Yes?
What is the API that is used? You can disclose that. What?
So for this server.
Basically the question is what LLM you are using,
Oh,
or
yes.
API.
Yeah. So, yes.
I have more questions, but I'll let you answer them.
Okay, so we use Claude today, but it's model agnostic. So if the models support.
I have a quick suggestion. Can
Yes.
you try with Llama 4, because it has like long context and it's gonna help you with this. I think you have like a latency problem. It's moving a little slow.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely, this is not optimized. There's lots of things
Yeah.
that could go on to get faster. It's not streaming either. We have a version like in a couple hours it'll be streaming. It's literally like we're just sort of building this goes.
And another question would be, did you create the MCPs?
We did. We created some of the MCPs, but for example, with the Brave search, we got that from the internet. So we actually have a thing that scrapes and then evaluates the different MCPs that are out in the public domain.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Yes.
I was just curious because I started tinkering around with NAN recently. I was wondering how this like compares with NAN or other platforms like that.
So NAN, you think about it, is a flow, like you're doing step by step.
Yeah.
This is all agentic. So it is all based on using MCPs and using the built-in logic and understanding of the LLMs. And the reason why we chose that, we actually did in my past life, we did workflows. That's what these are. Who wants to manage a workflow? I don't want to manage a workflow. It's a pain in the ass. So, and again, I spend a lot of my time doing that. The beauty of workflows is that they're predictable. The bad thing is they're brittle. So the minute anything changes, it's just like maintaining code. And for our target audience, they just want something that works, right? And it will actually get better as the LLMs get better. Great question. Thank you. Yes.
I have a follow-up. I had that before. You said brittle, but how would you handle, or do you have a plan to handle brittleness and debugging, and kind of how would you do that?
So part of this is we get eating our own dog food. We use evals to evaluate the output. We will then also evaluate anything that goes wrong with it and try to auto-correct it. However, we know that LLMs screw up. So if you were a developer, you would be able to see all the code that was developed to create the agents. Are you a developer? Okay, great. So you see the manifest, you'll see the things, you'll see the prompt, you'll see how it was created. We have tried to stay true to the protocol, which means that there is a pristine host that gets created, there's a client to spec that gets created, the servers are all validated. So in theory, if all those things are perfect, and that's what we're using, it shouldn't screw up. But that's in theory, so we know as developers that's not always true. So if things actually do break, you have a chance to go in there and fix it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great. Yes.
Yeah, similar question. So you are going to generate MCP. My problem with writing MCP is people write those with so much verbose instructions, and it's eating me token like crazy. And you mentioned the eval right now is more like, as a developer, I need to compare the result myself. So it's not like you, do you have a plan to provide like some tooling to make this easier? Because if you just with this, I feel like, sorry, just that question. Like,
Okay.
any eval, yeah.
Great question. Everybody hear that? So if you want to have, like, I want to see it myself, I'm a developer. I like to say that Jamin and I are like, we're the ICPs, we don't trust anything, like we want to see the code. So first of all, it's a great point. I don't think we have that immediately, but I can see putting it on our near-term roadmap. So the idea I would think was this: you would have APIs you could directly access the output from as well. So then, or you could drive it, you could try different prompts and drive the output, feed that into your own process, and then change it, right? So if you don't like what we produce, you have the opportunity to intersect and do it. In fact, when you see the output, you'll be like, ding, ding, ding. It'll make a ton of sense to you what was done, but it also gives you the opportunity to change it as you wish. You know, does that answer your question?
Yes, I will hope it's if you make it simpler, the whole data the flywheel thing. If you make it simpler, I would love it. I will pay more to let you to improve it yourself. And then.
All right, you heard that, Lana. You heard that, you pay more. So I think, just sort of building what you're saying, I think it'd be great to have a completely headless version, meaning you just drive it by APIs. Then you can see the data output as you wish, feed it back in, and then create that flywheel loop. Awesome. Okay, that was very nerdy, but I love nerds here, because I'm one of them. Okay, anybody have a nerdy or not nerdy question? Yes.
So what are the highest priority, if you think about your roadmap long term, and you can keep it as high level or as low level as you want, what are kind of the highest priorities if we're thinking about how, like what's this going to look like in a quarter, maybe a year or so?
Yeah, I think it's hard to say.
Or I know it's hard to say.
Quarter or
like,
two, I can say.
I guess how should we think about the capabilities you're most focused on right now?
I think it's making it bulletproof. I think the biggest challenge I've seen using this and developing is we see so many POCs get developed and they never get deployed. And they never get deployed because they fall apart under sort of load. And so we want to just make it so it's so simple. And I think, I was actually initially inspired by tools like Replit or Lovable. Any of you guys use those?
Right.
What I loved about them first was, man, I could get a website up in no time. I'm not a designer. I have trouble drawing stick figures, but like this got me up in no time. The problem of the failure in all of these is it gets me 70% of the way. And then I'm like, well, I want to change this. I want to change that. You can't use the same interface. So we keep it super simple. We focus on what we can do really well. We'll scale those things. I believe you should be able to use our system without any problem as a layman, modify it as a layman, and have it still work for you. That's what we're focused on.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Great question. You have time for one more? Yes. Let's go first.
Sorry, a non-learning question. I just tried to search your company's name through 4 AIs and didn't get answer. Can you search your name and
Like
company's name?
Cogzia? Yeah. Oh, but this is a video demo, but yes. It's Cogzia, it was spelled right, but we have it in stealth mode. So literally, this is the first time we're presenting this to the world. So we haven't done any SEO, search engine optimization, or anything like that. So it's a little hard to find. But if you go to that QR code, you'll find it.
So it's not indexed yet.
It's not indexed yet. It's like nothing.
Still.
Let's go to the second question.
Yeah, maybe that that just answered my question, but what are your clients most likely, or what are your clients currently using this for?
So we just started, but we talked to a bunch of people before we kind of ventured out. Like, the smart thing if you ever do a startup is like, do not drink your own Kool-Aid until you talk to people. So, so in fact, we did switch gears a bunch of times along the way before we came up with this one. What we found was, in talking to sort of small to medium-sized businesses, is they were struggling with AI. They wanted to do AI. Maybe the CEO had given a mandate, everything has to be AI, but they needed to do AI, and they're like, I can't pay for these, very expensive engineers in AI. What can I do? And then in our past job, we also, the co-founders, we saw people struggling using AI a lot. Things would get to a certain point and flounder. And you had to have sort of very expensive teams like we had to get anywhere. So we're really trying to focus on making it super simple, super easy to get to use. And what they're saying is that's what they want. They just want the easy button. They want to be able to do AI without having to be AI experts. Does that answer your question? You have a follow-up?
So your process automates the creation of an MCP that companies want to use in order to.
So for example, here's one. They have a bunch of data that's sitting in a database that's got unstructured data.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it very loose so I don't violate any laws. Okay, so here's the thing. They had a team, they're not experts at AI. So I looked at their problem and I'm like, oh yeah, we can do this in like 2 weeks, right? And I'm like, what are you going to charge? And I gave them the number and they're like, no. Okay, I said, wait. And I described what we're building. They're like, you mean we can use it? I'm like, yeah, because they're really good at software. They're not really good at AI. And so if we can bring the AI component to this and make it easy for them, it probably is going to be a couple of days. It's not going to be 5 minutes, but it's going to be a couple of days of work. Why? Because they know their data really well, but they don't know how to use AI. And so we can mesh that together and make it easy for them. That's a huge win for them.
So this would be for companies that don't know how to use their data.
No, they know how to use their data, but not in an AI way. They don't know how, like, they were trying to figure out how similar some crash logs were. That was an example. And so they didn't understand, because the traditional crash logs, so if you ever use Windows or like that, those things crash, boom, they had all this data coming in, but they had no context. And they wanted to figure out, like, how could they use this information? And I'm like, well, I can tell you how to do that, and I can do that work. And they're like, oh, that's expensive. And I said, okay, so wait for us to come out with this. And I would tell you, I think they can solve this problem in just a couple of days, because they know their data, they know the AI, a couple conversations, and they would figure it out. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And I think a lot of people are like that. They want to use AI, they get it in general, they're not experts, they don't know how to do it.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions?
Oh.
Greg, you're going to be here after the talk too, right?
I'm going to be here, Jamie will be here, Lon will be here, we'll all be here to answer your questions. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions or briefs somebody to ask? All right.
Scalability.
Yes.
How well can it be scaled? So you mentioned small to medium businesses, but what about enterprise? Can they use this tool and it won't break?
Yeah, so we use Kubernetes underneath the hood. We scale fully within Kubernetes. So you can allocate as much as you want. You can even have a private space in that. In fact, my suggestion, if you were really trying to do that, is we would show you how. We just have it installed in your own Kubernetes infrastructure, right? So therefore, you get to be responsible for the scaling. But the idea is, so I spent my time before this, in the past life, doing a lot of architecture. I've been working with AWS since before AWS was even cool. Not this cool anymore. But anyway, the point is that we designed this to be scalable from day one. So we use infrastructure as code for deployment and management of the system, even though we're just a company. Hopefully that answers your question.
It did.
Thank you.
All right, going once, going twice. All right, thanks, Greg. That was a great example of actually using AI.